street. Beyond the street, that's where it all begins. Freedom, power, lust and sin, strong survive, the weak give in. It's dog eat dog, you just can't win beyond the streets. The magic of the city lights, like your dreams will fade with the morning light. Beyond the street, the city jungle waits. Love's exploited, therefore higher. Buy and get what you desire. Help the devil burn his fire beyond the street. The magic of the city lights, like your dreams will fade with the morning light. Beyond the street, the city jungle waits. Love's exploited, therefore higher. Buy and get what you desire. Help the devil burn his fire beyond the street. Help the devil burn his fire beyond the street. Help the devil burn his fire beyond the street.
Okay, everybody, we are going to go ahead and get started. We do have a quorum. So I'd like to welcome everybody to the Downtown Design Review Board for May 21st, 2025. Will the board and ex officio members please introduce themselves?
Cameron Boland, AIA representative.
Laura Siri-Len, Downtown Residential Representative.
Jared Worsham, Downtown Resident Representative.
Suzanne Taravella, Neighborhood Representative.
Lindsay Lanoy, Knoxville, Knox County Planning.
Josh Wright, Urban Design Representative.
Chris Ford, Downtown Business Representative.
Melinda Woolert, Knoxville, Knox County Planning.
Dallas DeArmond, Knoxville, Knox County Planning.
Christina McGrons-Tillery, City Law Department.
Mark Reel, City of Knoxville, Plans Review and Inspections.
Thank you. Next up is the minutes for April 16th. They're provided in your packet. If there are, does anybody have any corrections or comments on those?
I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that one passes. Thank you. All right, Lindsay, you're up. Can you give us a staff report, please?
Yeah, so the 2 Level 1 certificates of appropriateness issued since the last meeting at 414 Clinch Avenue. There is an unilluminated projecting sign that's located in an existing sign location, 36 inches in diameter. And then at 2303 Adair Avenue in the infill housing overlay, the applicant expanded the footprint of an existing porch. It was a stoop, and they've created a half-length front porch. And that's it.
All right, great. Thank you. We will move on to our certificates of appropriateness. The first one on the list is 500 South Gay Street, and that is item number 5A25DT.
So this is the installation of a new non-illuminated sign face on an existing 69-foot 1-inch wide by 8-foot 2-inch tall roof sign. So the sign is located on the rear of the building facing State Street. And just to go through some of the findings, so 500 South Gay Street, it's a contributing resource to the historic district. New rooftop signs are prohibited by city sign code. They're not listed as recommended sign types in the historic resources section of the design guidelines. This sign, as you can see in the bottom right photo of its existing kind of sign frame there, it has been deemed an abandoned non-conforming sign. It gets a certain time window in which it may be refaced. The proposed sign is approximately 565 square feet. It's a flat acrylic facing that will cover that whole sign area. As you can see here, there's a border that's indicated on that kind of sign frame. That is proposed to be wrapped in the new sign facing. So the design guidelines don't have any guidance for signage on the rear of buildings. There are also not guidelines for rooftop signs since they're not typically permitted. When reviewing the new Hyatt Place sign, which is on the rear of the Farragut building, the review discussed how historically signs on the rear elevation of buildings were painted and non-illuminated. The Cook Loft signs, the board chose to use the guidelines for the Promenade District, which allows for rear-facing signs with size, location, and illumination standards. Both of those reviews also discussed size. So the Hyatt Place sign is 273 square feet, and then it was discussed to be the largest of those similar signs on the rear elevation. Marble Alley Lofts is 270, the Downtown Grill and Breweries is 178. The Promenade guidelines go further and say that signs shouldn't be over 60 square feet, but that is kind of based on the promenade structure itself. Either way, based on the building's location on the same block as the Farragut building and adjacent to the promenade block, its historic designation, and the major visibility of this structure, the new sign should be reduced in size, not to exceed the square footage of the existing Hyatt Place sign, and it should be contained within the existing sign border instead of wrapping it all in the acrylic. Sign content, like the actual content, is not necessarily within the purview of the DRB, but an alternate design would benefit the overall blocking character of downtown. So we have some historic photos. There's the sign in the late 1950s and the early 70s. And photographs depict the sign, which featured painted text similar to painted wall signs in the area. The design guidelines recommend that advertising signs be appropriate to historic areas without contributing to visual clutter. So incorporating the style of the historic painted wall signs would also greatly contribute to the district and the building. So staff's recommending postponement of 5A25 DT so the applicant may submit a sign proposal reduced in size for board review.
Thank you, Lindsay. Is the applicant present? Hey, can you give us your name and address, please?
Tony Sapples, Neon Service, 1007 May Avenue, Knoxville, Tennessee.
Great, thank you. Do you have anything to add to Lindsay's comments?
Well, it's going to be, the material is going to be a banner type material, not a flat acrylic material. It could be aluminum, printed aluminum banner material, or it can be acrylic, like she was saying. There was an existing structure there that had a sign on it, and we're asking for a reface.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought refaces were allowed on existing.
Mm-hmm. That's what we're talking about today. So
The-
we'll have a discussion about what's appropriate as far as the design goes.
Okay. And this is the initial design. I'm sure the graphics on it can be, tweaked to maybe suit what you guys like better, but, that's what we'd like to have.
Great, okay.
Right?
You might want to stick around just in case folks have questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thanks. Who wants to start?
Can you give us more detail on the issues of abandonment and the time between abandonment and after we then, it loses its grandfather status?
So I'll ask Mark Reel to weigh in on the zoning code side.
Yes, so we were alerted to this at the end of January when the sign contractor reached out to us about wanting to reface the sign. Our policy basically is if it doesn't change the sign head, signs can be refaced. So after they reached out to us, I did issue a letter to the property owners letting them know that they had 60 days to reface it or try to obtain approval from this board in order to get the sign refaced. As previously stated, it doesn't need a permit to be refaced. And so the letter was sent out at the end of January, and they've been working to try to get this approved since then.
So it's still eligible to be refaced. There's nothing in the ordinance saying that they can't reface it.
So once the letter was sent out, the timeline is 60 days. And then they emailed me back in March within that time period and said that they were trying to obtain approval. And so we were just acting in good faith, letting them try to get approval.
Okay. And that 60 days, is that established anywhere, or is that, where did that timeline come from?
It's in the zoning code. It's Article 13.11.
The reason that it would come to the design review board is that it does not clearly meet the design guidelines. The design review board did not previously approve a sign in this location. And then all other kind of similar signs that are larger on the rear facing elevations, et cetera, rooftop signs that have been through, would go in front of the design review board. So if it were a simple refacing where they didn't have to get a permit, it's staying within the existing bounds of a previous approval. So thinking of when it was Phi Tai on Gay Streets, the next business came in and they just plopped something on it, but it was the existing sign, the existing shape, the placement, everything that was already approved, that didn't come in front of the board. Those are staff approvals, but this is something that is well outside the guidelines, so that's for the board to discuss.
Okay, so I guess my question was, since it sounds like they got something to you quick enough to where it's not an abandoned sign, it's still a refacing that is. So the size of the sign is not the issue, it's the design of the sign, correct? Or is that, am I misunderstanding this?
In the staff finding, like on the design guidelines element, the size of the sign is the issue.
But it does exist, it was previously existing, so
Yes.
it might not meet the letter of the law historic, but it is old enough to be an established sign.
Yeah. So it is. So it was.
predates.
It predates the sign code that prohibits rooftop signs.
Right.
I think that just in discussion of the design itself, it's not contributing signage. It looks like a billboard right now. I think even just it being within the border actually helps a lot. Like the tapered border of the existing sign would do a lot for it. Of course, yeah, if it was a hand painted something beautiful like that was originally there, that would be wonderful. But I honestly think the fact that the applicant just revealed that it would be a vinyl overlay, like those temporary ones we see on billboards as well. I just, my problem with it, even less than the size, is that it just looks temporary. And again, if we're using correct language, this is not contributing to the historic buildings it's literally sitting on. So that's my problems with it, is I don't think it looks good for downtown, especially from the highway.
I agree with that. I think I have similar concerns just with the graphics themselves and not necessarily the size. I think the size, in my opinion, is fine since it predates the codes and ordinances that we're dealing with right now. So I think a more traditional look that is compatible with the historic context would be appropriate and inside the border of the existing structure.
Right. I mean, I know what the market is, and again, I know we're not commenting on the graphics, but why not? We're talking about it. Like the arrow pointing down, it looks cheap. I mean, the graphics looks cheap. It just doesn't look like a good sign for Knoxville. It's unfortunately going to be similar to the fire station storage building. It looks like a circus tent on the planned east side of the highway next to the baseball stadium that we didn't have purview over, but is painted red and white now. I don't want to see, because of development, that we start to let things kind of become a loose cannon. And that's what I'm afraid this sign could be if we start to see things like that pop up in our downtown.
Yeah, I feel like if we're going to allow it to be grandfathered in, it needs to have the same character, same similar font style, same similar direction of a design as the previous one, rather than, as you're saying, a billboard.
And I think, to be fair, it doesn't have to be a hand-painted sign. It can be accomplished, like the applicant was saying, through a number of different means, whether it's aluminum or vinyl or whatever. But I think it needs to have a sense of permanence and, like you said, be compatible visually.
Yeah, and I think if you look at other kind of the rear-facing signs, I think, Lindsay, you pointed out Marble Alley has the sign on the rear. I mean, it gives more of a permanent feel to it than maybe what this would. So I agree with everybody else's sentiments.
So our options are to motion to
Agree.
redesign. Oh, can we do that?
Well, we can postpone it or we can deny it. And if we postpone it, let them redraw it and bring it back to us. I think that sounds like what the board would like the most. So I'll make a motion to postpone to allow them to come back with a better design.
I'll second that.
I'd like to add, though, the staff findings was that it was just to come back with a different size. So the redesign, I think, would be the applicant takes into consideration the board's comments today as far as the actual character and graphic design of the sign when they redesign it, not just the size.
I agree. It's still the same motion, though.
Correct.
Yeah.
Christina, are you okay with that? Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you. Next up, we have 420 Clinch Avenue, which is item 5C25DT.
Okay.
Mine works.
Oh, good. I can use hers. Okay. All right. Well, I'll run through this. And so this is the proposed, just if nobody could hear, we were having some microphone troubles. So we'll figure that out. This is the proposed replacement of all the exterior windows. So the existing windows are wood double hung and then also steel windows with awnings on the secondary elevations. The staff report has a run through of the different window profiles. The proposed replacement windows are from the Sierra Pacific Monument Series. There are specifications in the application packet. And overall, they'll be double hung aluminum clad wood with a black exterior, replicating the existing size and multi-pane patterns with simulated divided lights. The original brick window openings will not be modified. And you can see in the bottom right corner here, there's a conceptual rendering showing those replacement drawings matching the existing window patterns. The frames will be black. And so just to run through some of it, so the building is eligible for the National Register. It's not formally listed. It's not subject to the historic resources section of the guidelines. The guidelines do encourage applicants to rehabilitate historic structures in accordance with the Secretary of the Interior standards. The original windows are significantly deteriorated, so removal is appropriate. You can see a lot of the conditions photographs here. The proposed double hung aluminum clad wood windows with the simulated divided lights are a compatible replacement. They're in line with other window replacements that have been approved in even in historic properties in Gay Street and in the warehouse district. They don't fully replicate the color or the operation type of all the windows. However, it may not be feasible to replicate that exact pattern of this steel awning windows on the secondary elevations. The existing multi-pane windows will be replaced. The elevation drawings don't have the exact pane definition or pane division on all of them. In particular, the 12/12s are shown as opposed to the existing 12/16s. So if the intent is to replicate those exact profiles, the elevation drawings or a separate window schedule should indicate those individual window arrangements to be used. The proposed windows will be the same size as the original. There will be a deeper window jamb just based on the construction of the windows. The existing openings, sills, trim, lintel, all of the brick masonry details should just be carefully retained and repaired as necessary. So staff's recommending approval of 5C 25DT subject to the conditions that the elevation drawings or a separate window schedule accurately depict the window arrangements to be replicated. The existing brick window openings and details should be retained and repaired as necessary.
Let's do this.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, we're good. Thank you for that, Lindsay. Is the applicant present? I'm just gonna scooch.
Is yours red?
I'm not sure. Okay. Margaret Butler from McCarty Wholesale McCarty at 550 West Main Street.
Do you have anything to add to Lindsay?
No, Lindsay did a fantastic job of explaining it, and I'm here to answer any questions. We're happy to provide that additional elevation to correctly depict that. The building is 100 years old and has not seen a significant renovation, and the renovation is currently in progress for the rest of the building, and fortunately the organization has been able to find funding for the window replacement, so that's why we're here.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the divisions? Is it between the glass or on top of the glass, since it's not a true divided line?
The current windows are on the front. It's interesting, on the front on Clinch Avenue and on Walnut, which were the two public-facing elevations. They were true divided light, single pane, historic wood windows. Interestingly, on the back of the building, which runs along the alley, and on the east side, which is kind of used to be an old house there. It's currently the small restaurant. a courtyard that property that the YWCA owns, those are steel windows as well. And you kind of wonder why, and I don't know, we don't know why 100 years ago they did that. I suspect that the steel windows were cheaper at that time, and they tried to cut cost on those too. Because in one of the front main rooms of the building, you're in this, nice lounge area. The windows on the front are wood inside, and then the windows to the courtyard are steel. So I can't imagine they would have done that on purpose if they'd wanted to. So the effort really is on this replacement to replace them all with a wood look-alike, aluminum clad wood look-alike, true divided light, simulated true divided light that would qualify for historic tax credits if they were pursuing them, so that they can get the same color throughout on the interior. Because if they went back, and we've looked at that, went back with steel where the steel windows are and wood where the wood-clad windows where the original wood windows are, we couldn't get the same color inside and outside. So some of the windows in that room I was mentioning, they would be black inside, and then some of them would be white inside. So they prefer to go back with all true divided wood look windows.
So the new ones are going to be simulated.
Simulated simulated.
Creating the simulation, is it a piece with
It's the mullion applied on the outside, a mullion applied on the inside, and the piece in the middle between the glass that looks like it's all one piece. Yeah.
We don't have speakers, do we? I can talk louder. Thank you very much. Oh, for the record, please. Were there any other colors studied? Was there any information found of the original colors of the windows? There was not. Okay. And there's simulated arches with the masonry, but were there ever actually any arched windows on the project? There weren't. Okay.
And you can even see one right there on that historic photo. Yeah. No, the windows are original that are in the building now. So.
I would say that I'm pleased to see a project like this that actually isn't. Sometimes historic tax credits can even hinder progressive development for the fact that we can have contextual windows, but also that need to be energy efficient. So the fact that you guys' hands aren't tied to have to replace the steel windows for sometimes a lesser than product, I think is not a bad thing. So I appreciate the care you guys gave to the research, but also are thinking of a modern product that will be able to bring the building into the next 100 years of its life. So that's important.
Are there any intentions to seek the National Register nomination for this building?
I don't think so at this time. It's been a long journey for the organization, and they had a team of the board and attorneys to try to do that. And I think the stumbling block at that point was there has to be some revenue stream. This is a nonprofit, and they run a program. They don't lease apartments like you might, and so I don't think it's very difficult to find a means to qualify for that.
But even without the credits themselves, just the nomination to be on the register.
Yeah, they have discussed it, and there is no current plan to do that, though I have to say we have tried in every way from the design standpoint to do it in a manner, if they ever tried to do that, we wouldn't have done something that precluded that.
Do you have any other comments? Okay, then we'll go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to approve per staff recommendations.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we are going to move on to infill housing. And we're going to have Melinda do this one. It's 1208 Ohio Avenue, which is item 5A25IH. And we're going to share this microphone again.
It's a really fancy operation here.
All right, so this is a new primary structure fronting Ohio Avenue. It will be 1 story with an exterior of vinyl board and batten with brick veneer on the facade, an 8/12 pitch front gable roof, and a block foundation clad in Sherwall stucco. The proposed parking is a large gravel driveway accessed from the street. So the front setback is not specified, but appears to be approximately 40 feet. The house should be moved closer to the front lot line with final measurements to be approved by staff, and the final site plan should include a walkway from the front porch to the sidewalk. The block to receive new construction is characterized by shotguns, minimal traditionals, and infill construction, and the new house is similar in height and scale to the context. As I mentioned, parking is currently proposed for the front yard and should be revised to 1 lane that extends at least 20 feet behind the facade to meet design guidelines. The 3-bay facade features a half-length, 6-foot-deep front porch supported by 2 12-inch square columns. The depth should be revised to 8 feet, which is the minimum encouraged by the design guidelines. The 4/1 double-hung windows and half-light panel doors match the context. However, 1 window should be added to the rear elevation to avoid large swaths of blank siding. The 8/12 pitch roof with asphalt shingles and the block foundation clad in Sherwall stucco meet the design guidelines for materials. The primary siding material is board and batten with brick veneer accents on the facade. Guidelines discourage the use of vertical siding and encourage the same material on all elevations. Board and batten is generally allowed as an accent material only. So the primary siding material should be revised to clapboard style lap siding with an overlap, or the brick veneer should be used on the entire house with details to be approved by staff. The final site plan should be revised to include at least 1 tree in the front and rear yards. Guidelines state that healthy trees that are outside of the building footprint should be preserved, and that the root area should be marked and protected during construction. The lot currently has a number of healthy, mature trees, and so those outside of the building footprint and parking should be retained. So with that, staff is recommending approval of Certificate 5A25IH, subject to the following conditions: the final site plan to meet city engineering standards and to include a walkway from the front porch to the street, the parking location to be revised to avoid the front yard, the front setback to be revised to align with the block with final measurements provided to staff on final site plan, the porch depth to be revised to 8 feet, 1 additional window to be added to the rear elevation, primary siding material to be consistent on all elevations with board and batten revised to clapboard style lap siding with an overlap, the final site plan to include a native or naturalized shade tree in the front and rear yards, and the remaining trees on the site should be retained if at all possible.
Thank you, Melinda. Is the applicant present?
I'm here.
Please give us your name and your address.
I'm Javier Lopez in, of this address, you mean? 1208 Ohio Avenue? Yeah.
Do you have anything to add to Melinda's comment?
No, the only thing we have already, we're issued with the driveway. We already got a new plan to present to you guys maybe today, this evening. Yeah.
Do you have any comments from the board?
Yeah, I have one question. The columns that you have specified, are those going to be painted or wrapped or pressure treated? Do you know what they're going to be?
I mean, we think painted to make it look and match with the neighborhood.
Right, let's make them painted so that the pressure treated would look a little cheap with, especially with the nice brick that you're putting on there. That would be great to have. So we might add, I'll add that to the approval to make sure that the columns are painted. Yeah.
Anyone else?
I'd like to make a motion per staff recommendation and adding comment 8 to have the columns on the front porch be painted as a part of the approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Thank you.
Linda's gonna do one more.
All right, so the next one we have is a new addition and deck at 3124 Clearview Street. That will be installed on the rear elevation in the place of the existing deck and sunroom, which you can see right there. The addition has an L shape, and the new deck will sit in its corner, and it will be visible from the primary street and the side street, Nickerson Avenue. So the proposed addition meets design guidelines for placement and massing. Guidelines recommend that exterior cladding, roof materials, doors, and windows should be compatible with those on the existing house. So the proposed in-kind lap siding, asphalt shingles, and 3/1 double-hung windows reflect the existing house and the guidelines, while the transom windows and the stucco-clad foundation are not present on the existing house. They are compatible with the overall design and meet the guidelines. Guidelines recommend that the roof line and materials complement the original house. The cross gable roof form is compatible with the existing house. The addition is recessed below the primary roof line with a lower pitch, which demarcates it as an addition. And it will have the same height as the massing projecting from the facade, with the gable fields matching the height of others on the house. So with that, staff is recommending approval of certificate 5C25IH as submitted.
I fixed it.
Thank you, Melinda.
Just be careful because since you have the chair microphone, you can mute everybody. That's what was
Sorry.
Way to go,
mean it.
Suzanne.
I didn't mean it. I had no idea. Okay. Thank you, Melinda. Is the applicant present? Can you give us your name and address, please? Great, thank you. Do you have anything to add to Melinda's comments?
The homeowners wanted to add an addition, a master suite. The current house only has 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom, so
It's a design that we came up with that kind of meets all that and works with the existing house, especially the roof. It's, I know, not a tall roof. So that's the design we come up with, but let me know if you have any questions.
Great, thank you. All right, we'll open it up to the board for comment.
What is it that's keeping you from doing brick as the foundation instead of stucco?
The current detail on, or the house on, the detail on the existing house, the brick is flush with the siding. While that could be accomplished, it's a little more complicated structurally. So just to keep the ease of construction better, decided to go with the stucco. And also, since the addition, it is differentiated from the main house. It's not really supposed to be a seamless addition. It kind of gives us its own character.
That was going to be my next question. It says existing siding or new siding to match existing. Are you going to do something with that to make it read as a new addition and not trying to match it?
I was planning on the same siding, and the owners seem to like that. That could be up for debate. But.
Yeah, and I know another problem with brick masonry is that's probably actual load-bearing brick and not a CMU backup wall with brick added, because the moment you add that, it puffs out past the base. So I know that's always an issue with it as well. I would ask that with the stucco, just because it's not going to take wear and tear like the brick will, to think about potentially edging the base of the house, like with some like a stone bed, some decorative landscaping stone. So when they're actually mowing the lawn and weed eating and those sort of things, they're not having to get up right against that, because that'll keep them from having to, that stucco will break down over time and start to look really bad and fall apart. And that's all over the neighborhoods. So it's just something to keep in mind when you're thinking about the landscaping around that.
Okay, yeah, the homeowners, they had mentioned too, they might be adding some landscaping around the base.
Sure.
So you may not be able to tell even that it's a different material.
Cool, okay.
Do we have any other comments?
Is the railing painted? It says metal railing, but I wasn't sure what color or what.
I'm saying metal too. I think the current railing in the front of the house, it's maybe more of a wrought iron, and they could possibly even do like an aluminum on the back, but I think maybe make it black like the front was my idea.
Great.
Okay, if we don't have any other comments, we'll entertain a motion.
Yeah, I'll motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. Thank you. Okay, next up, we have, you're gonna do all these together? Okay. We have 3 that will be presented together, and then we'll have to vote on them separately. So the first one is 920 Texas Avenue, and it's item 5D25IH.
So these are 3 new houses at 920, 924, and 928 Texas Avenue, and the site plans are on the screen right now. So these are 1-story residences with front gable roofs with a 6/12 pitch, clad in asphalt shingles, and exterior vinyl lap siding and block foundations. The houses are all 28 feet wide by 36 feet deep. They're proposed to be set 37.5 feet from the front lot line, and they all have 8 feet deep front porches. All of them have concrete parking pads in the front of the house that are accessed via Texas Avenue. The 3 houses are differentiated by the porch style. So 920 Texas Avenue has a central front porch. There is a partial width front porch on the right side at 924. And then at 928, there's a full length front porch that's recessed under that front roof gable. In terms of some comments, the house is proposed to be set 37.5 feet from the front lot line. The block to receive new construction is mostly vacant lots. There's 1 house that's at 38 feet, so the front setback is appropriate. The block does not have much context. The 2 houses are infill construction. Other blocks on Texas Avenue have similar houses, so the house is proportionate to the lot and to nearby houses. The guidelines recommend that parking be accessed from an alley if there is one, or be located to the side of the house. So the parking should be revised to avoid the front yard, be accessed from the alley if possible, or from in a 1-lane driveway that extends to the side of the house. The final site plan should meet city engineering standards. The facade width, the 8-foot deep front porches, the window and door styles, and the 6/12 pitch roof all meet the design guidelines. The materials, including an asphalt shingle roof and a vinyl lap siding, meet the guidelines. The final siding should have an overlap as opposed to a Dutch lap or a flush panel siding. The site plan indicates new ornamental trees in the front and rear yards. The guidelines do note that healthy trees outside of the building footprint should be preserved. This lot is pretty much entirely clear cut prior to this application. So staff is recommending approval of 5D25IH subject to the conditions that the site plan meets city engineering standards. The site plan include a walkway from the front porch to the street, parking be revised to meet the design guidelines, and the foundation be parge coated or clad in stucco. And that recommendation is the same for 5E25IH and 5F25IH.
Thank you, Lindsay. Is the applicant present? Can you give us your name and address, please?
Andrew Nugent, and it's 300 Holloway.
Great, thank you. Do you have anything to add to Lindsay's comments?
No, other than the mention about the alleyway, although if you can see it right there on the picture, that has never been maintained and there is no driveways or anything connected to it. It doesn't even appear to be a road that's back there. So that would be something on the city if they were to repave that to actually make that an accessible road. There's chunks and stuff taken out of it. That's why all the driveways were in the front. That was a consideration when we actually went and inspected the lots.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, what is the protocol there if you want an alley and need it maintained? Since it's already sort of existing.
Yeah, I can't really speak on that. That's more of an engineering question for the city. But definitely I would reach out to city engineering and discuss that with them and see what your options are.
And the reason I say that is that typically if an alley exists, then it's our preference to use it. But
I agree.
to your point, if it's not usable, you can't. So
Right.
It's hard for us to recommend that you use it and then you don't have a means to make that work.
Exactly,
So-
that would be the only question right now.
The alternate and what would meet the design guidelines based on the staff recommendation is instead of having a parking pad in the front of the house, we recommend that parking be limited to one alley and extend beyond 20 feet beyond the front facade of the house. So it's just kind of a driveway that goes to the side of the house.
And that could easily be accomplished.
Great, thank you. Do we have any other comments?
I think we do need to, I hope our engineering, like when we have alleys that could be maintenance to work, we should make them work because and that's not, this isn't a comment to you, this is a general statement. Just because that's how they historically were designed, and we need to, if at all possible, I'm probably speaking into the ether, but we need to reuse them.
Yeah, no, we had houses on Minnesota, and the driveways are from the alley, and we had fully expected when we purchased these lots to do the same, except for it has not been used in so long. It is just, I mean, it's really not even, it would have to be dug up and redone.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not saying that to you. That's just in general.
Correct.
My only comment as far as the design is on 928, which how many of those columns are actually needed on that facade to make it stand up? I bet only 4 of them. I think that we could lose a couple and it would still get the differentiation you're looking for. I think the 5, there's 6, right? There's 6 of them. I think that's too much. So I appreciate you're trying to differentiate all the front massings. So I think we could lose 2 of those columns and it would still hold the gable.
Originally with the architect, that was one thing we did discuss, that we didn't like the columns so close at the front door because it boxed it in.
Sure.
Would to be able to make those wider. So
Yeah, I think that's actually a better approach, is get them away from the door and then you just have that more grand spacing between the columns.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's something I'll make a comment on when we're done.
If it works with the plans too, I'd like to see the windows, the double windows centered in those columns, or just relayed out to work with the columns. So
well, that may actually cause the windows to move a little bit. And I know the ones, as you're staring at it right now on the left, is actually part of the kitchen counter and stuff, which moves those windows into the dining room. So the other side would be fine to move them, but moving that one, I may be moving that window into the kitchen cabinets, if that makes sense. So it's something that we could, especially with redoing the front end, and move it out as much as possible. But,
yeah, I mean, the other option could be to have a single window centered in the kitchen and then make the other double windows centered in the other columns. But
okay, yeah,
just consider it.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
And just for my own information, was there ever another exterior facade besides vinyl considered, like fiber cement or wood or anything like that for this project?
No, sir.
Okay, it wasn't priced in any other manner than vinyl? Okay.
No,
and who told you vinyl was what you should go with? Was that a guideline, or was that just you all as you developed these homes?
Yes, there's roughly, we have put 3 of them on Minnesota. There's another one on Texas, and there's one on Connecticut. And there is no difference other than color and front porch changes on the houses themselves. So they've all been the same. And I think originally it was referenced, by my knowledge, it was referenced because the houses that were around were rewrapped all in vinyl and to keep that same color. So this is just the exact that they have submitted before.
Okay.
What's the slope like for the piece of property? I know from the elevation Lindsay had shared originally, it looks like some grading had been done, but I just wasn't sure.
I'm not sure who did the grading. We purchased the property where it was already graded. But that was something too, we actually discussed with the architect, and we didn't want the houses to stand out so much. So that house actually above it is what we tried to stay with. So it would make these houses flow with that house on the end. So they just didn't. We've noticed that some of the houses really look different where they've actually put the same houses side by side. And so we really wanted to break that up just a little bit. So I think the color change, still keeping the vinyl look and keeping it moving down the road so they don't just look like the odd houses.
I think Jared's asking about the slope, though. There's some grade change from the front to back. Like, is there enough grade
I
change?
thought you were talking about the roof slope.
No, sorry. No, yeah.
No, it's actually very slight. What you're seeing is they've graded off almost a flat pad, and that's a large mound of dirt on the high side.
Because that house there on the top, I can't read what number that is, but on the very top, on Google Street View, you can kind of see kind of the slope, and there's a deck off that back, so it's a bit. It kind of shows that elevation change.
Yeah, no, a lot of that dirt will have to be, that's up there on that pile, will move to the back. We have to relocate, it's topsoil that they cut all the way off down to clay for the whole site. We're gonna have to move all that and readjust it back into the front yards to actually move those up after we lay in the driveways, just to bring that front yard up so the houses don't look like they're in a hole, because nothing else looks like it's in a hole in that area.
So as far as the front elevation goes, how they're depicted in the packet will be representative of what it would look like.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we're just trying to make sure that there's not like stairs or a back porch or something like that that'll be added. Not that those are bad, but just that the grade's going to change the design of that. So the slope that's shown here has been understood to what it's going to actually be graded on site.
Yes, now I'm not, the back of the house actually has a deck. I'm not understanding why it's not shown on the plans. Honestly, on my way over here is where I picked up the first set and they said go. But generally it will have a small landing deck that goes off. The front of the house is zero entry. There's no steps to the front porches or anything. But I know that we did discuss that drop off the back and building up the front, other than bringing in a tremendous amount of dirt to fill that up.
Yeah.
We can lift the houses with block, and that's a whole lot, you know.
Yeah, I mostly mention it because when we've seen things closer to Sharps Ridge, that elevation gets really steep.
Yes.
And the slope gets steep. And we've seen some interesting things as far as stairs go. So,
Okay. No, these are, we're not, nothing should look out of the ordinary.
I think what we should add, though, with the approval is that the actual drawings with the deck on the back need to be submitted to staff for approval, to have a condition on the certificate of appropriateness. So just what you're building is actually what's documented
Yeah,
and
and
approved.
is it just on that one he had up, or all of them don't have a deck on the back?
All of them.
Looks like all of them have a deck on their site plan.
Okay.
Yeah, what's shown is a concrete pad, and it sounds like because of the grade, it'll need to be a deck.
Yeah, we'll have to maintain 2 foot or more access underneath the house. I just don't see any other way of getting access under that crawl space without putting a deck or something on the back, especially with central heat and air and all.
Yeah, we're not against decks. We just want the drawings to be approved, accurate. I mean,
I was just actually, I didn't recognize they weren't even on there.
Right, do we have any other comments? Or a motion?
let's see if I can remember. I motion to approve based on staff recommendations. Oh, sorry, should I start with the first one? Can I approve all three or start with one and then approve all three? We always have to do this. Start with one. Okay, for project or case 5D25IH, I motion to approve per staff recommendations with the added condition to for the applicant to submit the revised drawing showing the back decks, the back deck for staff approval.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. All right, that one passes. We'll just go down the line and do the next two.
Motion to approve 5E25IH per staff recommendations with the added condition for the applicant to include the back deck in the revised site plan and elevation drawings for staff approval.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that one carries. And the last one, please.
I'd like to make a motion to approve 5F-25-IH per staff recommendation with the added condition that the back deck be accurately depicted on the site plan and elevations for staff approval.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that one passes too. Thank you. Oh, yeah.
It's done.
We will.
And the
Just remember
column,
what we
yes, last one, I revised my approval. Can I revise my approval or is it set?
You can do a motion to reconsider
Motion to reconsider. I will restate my motion. On case number 5F-25-IH, I motion to approve per staff recommendations with the added conditions to resubmit the revised site plan and elevation showing the added decks, a deck at the back, and also the reconfiguration of the front columns to omit 2 of the columns from the front elevation.
A second.
We have a motion and a second for the revision. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that one passes too. Thank you.
So just because this is my first time, my odd question is I'll have them do this, resubmit this. Does it come back before or?
Not in this case, it'll go to Lindsay.
Okay, and then we're good to go?
Yeah, so there's a 14-day appeal period. In that time, you guys will probably just get your construction drawings together and we'll send you a COA, which is the document showing that it's been approved. And then we'll look at your final drawings and permitting. And yeah, you can send the deck, the site plans and everything, the revised to me. And you'll just want to make sure that everything you submit to permit meets those conditions of approval.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. All right, that is the last item on our agenda. So unless anybody has any comments, we will adjourn. Thank you.